Greetings collectors and welcome to episode 5 of this special 6-part mini-series of Clock Tower. So far we've covered the chronological releases, pricing, Clock Tower, The First Fear, Clock Tower 2, The Door of Fear and Ghost Head. If you've missed any of the series so far, I recommend going back to watch it first. Don't worry, I'll wait here for you. In this episode we're looking at Clock Tower 3 for the PS2, Capcom's first attempt at bringing the game to the masses. This was the point where the Clock Tower series went mainstream. Human Entertainment had never quite cracked the international scene with Clock Tower. The lack of presence in Europe and only 2 games of the Clock Tower series were ever released in the US. It was time for a change of strategy. Now with the PS2's next generation hardware and Capcom in command, the point and click method had been dropped in favour of a more direct character control. Japanese film director Kinji Fakasuku was now on board to give the series a cinematic direction. To be fair, the name didn't instantly mean too much to me. After a quick search of his profile, it turns out that he directed Battle Royale, one of my favourite dystopian Japanese movies. All of the elements for a blockbuster game were here. Clock Tower 3 stood to be the defining moment in the series, with a launch plan in all major territories on the dominant gaming console. So, how is it? Personally, I have to say that Clock Tower 3 gives me all sorts of issues as a game collector. The graphics are top notch, the concept great, and the decision to move away from the point and click method I actually welcomed. The issue for me is the plot of the game. Yet again, the plot is largely unrelated to the other entries in the series. This being the issue I had with Ghost Head, I'm still a little conflicted. Alyssa is a 14-year-old girl whose ancestors were female warriors who travel through time to defeat evil spirits. Alyssa travels from the year 2003 in London to the 1940s and onwards to defeat the evil entities and bring peace to troubled souls. Just a note, this is not the same Alyssa from Clock Tower Ghost Head and Struggle Within. Instantly, this breaks from convention, a time travel element in a Clock Tower series game. I'm not sure if this is imaginative or just a bit too left field for my tastes. Just to add yet more confusion into the series, the protagonist being named Alyssa, as was the protagonist of Ghost Head, just added another layer to the fan theories. Throughout the game you're largely left unarmed, but can use your longbow to dispatch enemies known as subordinates at the end of each level. There is a limited supply of holy water to stun enemies, but this won't last you long. Thankfully, the puzzle solving, panic mode and hiding elements we've become so fond of are still here in one form or another in Clock Tower 3. It's the more action attack based elements of the game that throw a spanner in the works. I did enjoy taking down the subordinates, but does this really fit into the Clock Tower theme? The plot does go on to at least tenuously tie elements of the Scissorman story thread into the game and does feature a new stalker. In terms of getting the series back onto a horror footing, I must say that Clock Tower 3 does make a stride forward over its predecessor Ghost Head. Reasonably graphic scenes do add to the claim of this being a true horror game. It's a little campy in places, but there are some very dark moments in the game that I think a lot of gamers would welcome. Although not perfect, I enjoy Clock Tower 3 for what it is. It's certainly well made and fun to play, it's just not quite what I was expecting from the series. Other gamers seem to be in a similar mind, as the game reportedly had mixed reviews and also sold less than the expected predictions. The standout elements of the game are certainly the art direction, graphics and colourful characters and action sequences. I'm not certain that this should be all contained within a Clock Tower game, but I was thoroughly impressed by some of the game twists, turns and general storytelling. There's some very impressive moments in the game. This is the UK edition of the game. It's worth noting that the US and Japan both received the original artwork for the game. Here in the UK, the artwork was actually changed to fit our market. What's interesting about the UK edition is that the CD actually has different artwork to the UK front cover, which really is inconsistent and doesn't make a lot of sense. It's also worth going back to our chronology chart at this point. If you were in Europe, this is the second game in the series. So we've gone from part 2 of a larger story straight into this game. It's no wonder that it's taken quite some considerable time for the Clock Tower series to gain any traction with a fan base in this part of the world. Pricing by region is roughly comparable, £15 in the UK, £10 in Japan, and just $10 in the US. It's possible that these may rise slowly, but are unlikely to hit the heights of other games in the series in terms of price. Personally, I see Clock Tower 3 as a bit of a missed opportunity by Capcom. It would almost have been worth going for a Clock Tower 0 approach and rebooting the franchise back in the Barrows Mansion back in Norway. Instead, we now find ourselves in London playing an unrelatable protagonist with a very fragmented series storyline. Clock Tower 3 is undoubtedly a good game and well worth a purchase. Just don't expect too much in the way of a consistent story progression for the series. With the lukewarm reception to Clock Tower 3, Capcom began work on Clock Tower 4. However, this never came to fruition. Instead, the development took an unexpected turn and became a game called Haunting Ground in the UK and the US, and a game called Demento in Japan. Join me next time in the concluding episode as I collect Haunting Ground. Is this the Clock Tower game that never was, the game we had all been waiting for?
Thank you, May. Your beautiful playing has brought me back to you. At last, we can be together again. Thank you, Alyssa.